born with HLHS. Now, unfortunately, August didn't make it. But our bond has gotten even deeper because of that. And quite amazing that it even happened. So she's going to help us out. She's going to watch the chat. If y'all have questions, please feel free to drop them in there. The most active person on here today is going to get a free gift at the end. So I want to make sure you know that. But we have two very special guests on here that I know their time is extremely valuable. So I want to step up and get them going so that they can go on with their days if they need to. The first one we have is Dr. Tim Nelson with HeartWorks, and they are a research group that is also doing an amazing program called Co-op. And I'm going to hopefully he'll talk about that a little bit because that one is very near and dear to my heart. I think it could be a groundbreaking investment for all of us if we would just jump in there and do it. But I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Tim. Welcome and thank you.
Hey, Christy, can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for doing what you do. And I've often said that the superpowers in this community that are untapped are the grandparents with congenital heart disease. So I love hearing your story because, everything you just said, you live it like anybody lives it, but you're also free to step back and look at the bigger picture and not have the day-to-day moment by moment that your child is demanding. So you do have a unique perspective. I can definitely agree to that and think about how that can be amplified. So it's a privilege to be here alongside you with this mission that you're on. So congratulations for painting the picture that I couldn't agree more with, that congenital heart disease is rare and neglected, and we need the St. Jude's of congenital heart disease to bring everybody together to do what we're talking about doing. So I'm Tim Nelson. I'm a physician scientist trained at Mayo Clinic and the founder of our HLHS program at Mayo Clinic that started in 2009 and now has evolved and grown, expanded nationwide into a platform known as HeartWorks. HeartWorks, We Build Hearts, is a research organization that focuses on product development for congenital heart disease. So we believe that the healthcare system is broken in the way that we focus on palliative care. We've trained each other to accept the notion that palliative care is the standard of care. And I don't know any other area of medicine that we celebrate palliative care as much as we do in congenital heart disease. And that is the opportunity for us together to change. I also believe that congenital heart disease is the canary in the coal mine for all of cardiovascular innovation, whether it's the heart-lung machine, the echoes, catheterization procedures. All of this was invented because of the needs of a child with a hole in their heart. Congenital heart disease has been the inspiration for all major cardiovascular innovation in the past 3 decades. And so if we abandon the innovation for our kids that are the highest unmet need, we're essentially abandoning the innovation for all of cardiovascular medicine. And so that's what drives us at HeartWorks. We're unapologetically focused on congenital heart disease, and we're focused on product development, and we're focused on how do we create a new standard of care that goes well beyond palliative care. And so I won't waste everybody's time today going into all the details, but we believe that it requires a team of teams to tackle this approach. It's not one person, it's not one organization, it's not one institution, it's not one idea. It's a team of teams that has to be organized in a way that we can move forward with product development and change the standard of care. So 2 things I'll leave you with gives us the confidence to do this is we've treated more kids with congenital heart disease with cell-based regenerative therapies than everybody else on the planet combined. And we've been doing this for the last 10 years. That's culminated to our latest clinical trial that as a team we've been able to bring forward, where we can take a piece of your skin, we can convert it into your stem cells, and we can convert it into your beating heart tissue that is genetically identical to your body. And we now have the FDA approval and IRB approval to transplant your cells back into your heart. And so this is a game-changing technology that allows us to envision how do we build the heart of a child with congenital heart disease using their own cells and their own genetic material so that they don't require immunosuppression to actually rebuild and strengthen the heart. That's kind of the tip of the spear of the technology, that we are just the custodians of the technology, bringing together the partners to be able to make this possible. And that starts with philanthropy, that starts with clinicians. And the biggest bottleneck for product development in congenital heart disease is bringing together the community of patients and families to be the pioneering participants in these clinical trials. And that is the biggest bottleneck that slows us down. No institution is big enough by themselves. Every patient advocacy group is perhaps too spread out and too fragmented. And being able to bring that together to educate our family and friends of what is available and what is possible, it's bringing families and patients together. And because of that, we've now made a transformative investment in the co-op. And the co-op is a member-driven data donation platform that is open to everybody. We at HeartWorks are just the custodians of this, but this is your data. This is your data from your family, from living patients to deceased patients. There's a way that data can be donated into the co-op that brings together a global effort to be able to have the information to design clinical trials, to recruit clinical patients into clinical trials, and to change the pace at which clinical trials can be done. The co-op is a data donation platform that every patient with congenital heart disease can contribute to. And imagine when we get 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 patients donating to that platform that none of us own, but we all are collaborating on it. That then becomes the platform by which drug companies, device companies, institutions are going to need to be able to move the clinical trials forward more rapidly.
Dr. Timothy Nelson.
So this,
I'm sorry, just real quick, could you mute your phone, please? Just mute your phones if you're not speaking so we could hear our guest speaker clearly. Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Serinda. So this is the play of the co-op as a data donation platform. I'll give you one example to inspire our confidence as a community that Cystic Fibrosis Foundation did a very similar play about 20 years ago that brought together 30,000 patients with cystic fibrosis in a data play that then brought companies together to be able to develop products. There's absolutely no reason why we in the congenital heart community can't do the similar thing, even larger than that. And so, Christy, it's people like you, it's stories like yours, it's grandmothers like you, that we are committed to helping be our part of the team of teams to be able to get to this vision that we all dream about. But I firmly believe that this vision isn't a grandiose vision. I believe this vision that you're sharing is a grand vision that actually can be done by bringing people together. So it's a privilege to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of your movement.
Thank you so much. I will say it's, I don't know if you saw my video, but one of the things I say in it, and I keep thinking, is I cannot do this alone. I have this vision, but in order to make this vision work, it's going to take a lot of the other group leaders that have taken theirs as far as they can go to make that next step, and for us to then come together. And because, I mean, there's some out there that have done an amazing job and have gotten things very, very far. But because of that fragmentation, it's time for all of us to go, okay, so now we go here. I can't do it. I can't do that by myself. So I'm hopeful that I'm hopeful we can make that transition, because with that, I think we can get your co-op data to take off. And with that, we can find what we're looking for. I don't know what that is. Do you? I don't even know what we're looking for yet, but I think it's out there. And until we
Well,
have the data, we can't find it.
well, Christy, you're taking the first steps by allowing this live session here for everyone to see and be aware of. And I just want to take the time real quick, because when you introduced me, I was just listening and I just love to hear your voice. I was like, oh, I didn't say good morning. So good morning, everyone. And thank you for allowing me to be here. Chrissy, yes, you mentioned that I lost my grandson. It was a tough loss, but the beauty of that, and I don't mean that in any kind of way, is I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping that what I've learned I can share, and what you're creating here is definitely going to expose and offer assistance to the world. And like Mr. Dr. Tim Nelson was saying, this is so cool because it's bringing the community together as one. And then also, speaking of the donation platform, everyone, you can get sponsors too. So I'm sure Christy would love, not only can the patients and families donate, but we can also help and provide you sponsors that can help build funds for this wonderful, wonderful organization, association that you've created. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And then with that said, I guess it's time to announce the next speaker, CJ.
Yes, I do want to make sure everybody knows. Hold on, we've got someone in the waiting room. I do want to let everybody know that a portion of all memberships will be going directly to HeartWorks. We will be supporting HeartWorks every step of the way. And I'm super excited about that. Yes. So yes, Dr. Tim Nelson, thank you. HeartWorks, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome to stay with us, or if you've got things to do, I know your time is very valuable. So whichever you want to do.
I'd love to stay with you. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, yes, so our next guest. Now, this one is very near and dear to my heart. I have wanted to make sure, I want for my grandson to have the most holistic, comprehensive investment into his life. And we all know at this stage of the game that if you have a congenital heart defect, your lifespan is shortened. And with that being said, I feel we owe it to our heart warriors as they grow up. We're not just dealing with CHD. This is a human being that we are raising to go out into the world and to find their path. And we don't know what their future holds. But unfortunately for them, with that time taken away off of their life, they don't get the benefits of trial and error like a lot of people do. They don't have the time to waste on those things. So I think that's one aspect that's very important to me. I want my grandson to accomplish what he's put on this earth to accomplish. And he needs to figure out what that is. And as a parent and a grandparent, it's our jobs to help them find that.
Right.
So one of the things I learned with my daughter, she was a Spitfire, let me tell you. She was determined she was going to graduate and move out of the house and go, 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 go in life. She was one of those people. And it was very, very impressive. But she was also my baby, and she graduated at 16 high school and already had working on her second bachelor's by the time she was 18. So I felt like I missed a couple years with my baby girl, with that, but she was really struggling. Where do I go? What do I really want to do? What direction and path do I want to take? And I had a luncheon with a friend of mine who brought up, I was discussing it with him, and he brought up this organization called Johnson O'Connor and said they're amazing. And you really should go down and do an aptitude test with them, have her go. So her and I went and we did this. And we learned so much about our natural tendencies, it's not an ability, it's an aptitude. It's kind of what you're born with. And I'll let Steve talk about it. But the point is, I really want to make sure that we have a tool and tools for our heart warriors as they grow to be able to really find themselves so that their steps they take are going to be with purpose and direction. And that's a really big part for me. So with all that being said, I know I rambled, sorry. I want to introduce Steve Green. We're partnering with them as well, and he is with Johnson O'Connor. Steve, take it over.
Yes, hi, Christy. Thank you. I'm honored to be here today. This is a wonderful organization. I've read up all of your data and listened to your website interviews. It's very moving. And I'm very happy to hopefully be a part of this effort. My family has had some genetic diseases that have shortened our lives too. So it's kind of near and dear to me. I know you and I talked about this, but I'm the director of the New York Center at the Johnson O'Connor Research Foundation. And just a little background about what we do. You accurately described that we measure aptitudes. And the definition of an aptitude is the ability to do or learn to do something quickly and easily. So it's a potential. And when people tap into their potentials and gravitate toward their greatest strengths in their work and in school, they tend to excel. They tend to find it engaging and fulfilling. And that's what we can help people do without so much trial and error. You know how many high school students I've had who come in and say, I'm going to be an engineer no matter what you tell me. And engineers have a very particular combination of aptitudes. Aptitudes are genetic traits we find. We've been doing this for a little over 100 years, and we have so much data. And the direction we give people is data-driven. It's objective. We don't really ask people, what are you interested in? What do you think you're good at? We do that, but that's kind of extra. What we really focus on are how you perform certain tasks. And people come out with a profile of abilities. And this profile can point people in career and educational directions that match their talents. So I like to call, it's not accurate, but it's descriptive. Aptitudes are kind of like superpowers. When you gravitate toward the things you're wired to do, they tend to be energizing, and you tend to outperform mere mortals, which are people who don't have the aptitudes. Mere mortals are people in the average range, which most of us are in most areas. So those are things we can perform as well as our peers, but it's the superpowers where we tend to excel and find it very engaging. And then some people score very low in certain areas. I call that kryptonite. It's not going to kill you like it will Superman, but it's draining rather than energizing. And it suggests a different way of doing work. So knowing all this data about oneself can help a person save years and frustration and energy and time, and that may be especially important, as you pointed out, for people with congenital heart defects. So, I look forward to our partnering up going forward. We are a non-for-profit organization. Again, we started off with General Electric back in the 1920s. We broke away from them because they used our data to hire people and put them in the right jobs. We use our data to inform individuals so they can decide what jobs to apply for and what kind of educational programs to get involved in. And we've tested probably close to 1 million people since our existence. And the overwhelming feedback we get from people is that they have found when they find ways to use their aptitudes in their work, they find that work very engaging and fulfilling. When people don't find ways to use these abilities in their work, they tend to express very low levels of satisfaction. So I'm very honored to be part of this organization. Our founder's vision, you talked about your vision, Christy, about helping people in your community. O'Connor's vision was that everybody should know their aptitudes and that everybody in the world is in the right job, doing what they do naturally and feeling, happy in their work. What a world that would be. That's his vision. So that's about all I have to say about Johnson O'Connor, unless there's any questions.
I have a question. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Green. And I'd love to hear what you have and what you're about. One question is, what are the insights, like what insights stood out for you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
I was just asking, what insights stood out for you?
In terms of, I'm not sure I understand the question.
In terms of, the organization and what your company's about, like what stood out for you as far as like the cause, like what stood out for you?
So, the cause is near and dear to my own heart because I was doing work. I started off in the private sector doing marketing and PR and sales, which I was
Mhm.
pretty good at. But I didn't find it very fulfilling. I felt like, I watched what people were doing who were advanced in their careers in my area. And I said that I don't see myself doing that. I wish I could figure out a way to do that. And behold, I found out about the Johnson O'Connor Research Foundation. I said, wow, I need this service, but I will also apply for a job here.
Mhm.
And I was hired and trained and certified by the foundation. That was back in 1987. And the people that I've encountered have found this data to be so helpful. Best case scenario is that they don't learn anything new about themselves. It's like, wow, I'm right. I'm really, these are the things I'm interested in. And now I'm ready to really go. The most dramatic stories are people who are completely off base. Those, students who say they're going to be an engineer and they really are more wired to be things like lawyers or accountants, that type of thing. So it can turn people's lives around, but it can also just, give them the confidence and motivation to go forward. So I think that's the greatest insight that I've had is that it really provides this data that helps people, plot out a satisfying life.
Good. Thank you. That's passion. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Sure.
So when I did mine, just to give you an idea, so I score like off the charts in ideaphoria. Did you look at mine, Steve?
No, I did not. I didn't have a
Oh,
chance
I
to
wish
see,
you
but I
had.
saw the email that Krista sent.
Yeah, she was so funny when we were talking. I told her, she said, we talked about it, and then she said, I have to go look yours up because she said, I just want to see how it matches with what you're doing, that the way her brain worked with it. But I score like, I mean, like, the graph is like 100. Isn't that right? It goes to 100.
Well, 99th is actually the highest because 100th in a percentile means you score higher than yourself. So 99
Oh,
would be.
gotcha. Okay, so I think I'm like 98 or 99 in ideaphoria, like way up there. And what's the one with foresight? What was that one?
Foresight is seeing possibilities, and
Yeah, well,
both
I
of
don't
those
remember
are
what.
divergent thinking. So you said before you ramble, it means you have lots of things on your mind and you need to get them out.
Yes,
So
yes,
communicating and working toward a cause, those are the
yes.
two things. So this is
And
what
I
you're
score
doing
off the
right now,
chart on both of those. Yeah,
and
so it
and
was
here you
like
are.
I'm
Uh,
right where I'm supposed to be.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Love to
Yeah.
see that.
Yes. So yeah, so I'm just very excited having this this partnership together, having you all work with us and work with our people. And one of the great things with this is it doesn't matter how old you are. Well, you say 14 is the age to
14 is the
start.
youngest, right? So like
Yeah.
we recommend junior year in high school is probably an ideal time because that's when students start to really say, I'm gonna have to make a decision pretty soon about where I want to go to college and what I want to major in. So this
Mhm.
becomes
Yeah.
especially useful then. Sometimes you have precocious, eager students at 14, like my daughter, for instance,
And
who
mine.
insisting on 12 to be tested. I had to hold her back to 14. But in many cases, students get dragged in by their parents, like, oh, what's aptitude testing? And so, it's probably more meaningful when they're engaged and into it and want to
Sure.
use this information. But the thing about aptitudes, we have a research department that's run by PhDs in psychology who make sure that these are valid and reliable measures. So that means that they are measuring what they purport to measure accurately, and they remain stable over time. So when a person gets tested, I did a follow-up session for a woman last summer, and I had originally tested her when I first started at the foundation in 1987. So 37 years later, she came back to review her original results, and she found them extremely useful throughout her life. She used them to navigate choices, and now she was at a much different stage in her life, so she came back and reviewed them. And she found it very, very helpful at this stage of her life to go over them again. It was a very full circle moment for me, to have started off with her as a teenager and then see her come back at the end of her career.
And was she still, paralleled?
Oh, absolutely. She had been using her aptitudes and using this information to guide her. And now she was at a transition point, where she's not quite getting ready to retire, but she's thinking about it. And she wants to, do a few more years of work and make it count. So
That's
people use
amazing.
this, yeah,
It's
people use
amazing
this throughout
that
their lives.
it just doesn't really change. I mean, it's just because it's such a core, like you said, it's a genetic base.
Exactly. Now,
So
full disclosure, as we get older, and I'm a good example of this, our aptitudes tend to diminish slightly over time, right? Our memories may not be as strong as they were when we were in our 20s, but compared to other people in your cohort, your age group, they remain
Mhm.
relative strengths. So I
very
tell people, by the time you're my age, you have so much experience and wisdom, you don't need aptitudes as much.
you just
Have
ride and glide.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. You're welcome to stay with us. And if not, I understand. Our times are valuable. So whichever you want to do, you're welcome.
No, I'll stay I have about another half hour or so I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, what did you guys think about that? Did you learn anything? If you learned something new about yourself, or even if you're interested in doing this, pop in the chat there and let us know what you thought. All right. So where do we go from here?
Question. Okay, CJ.
Yes.
So, Dr. Tim Nelson, if you're still on the call, just a quick question that the audience might want to know. What surprised you most about the CHD research? Like, what surprised you most about that?
Well, so I was training to be a cardiothoracic surgeon in medical school is where I was training. And I remember a day where I was in the OR with a 5 kilo hypoplastic left heart infant, restrictive ASD, that had a 50% chance of survival for getting out of the OR. And I was a medical student at the time at Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee with Dr. Tweddle and Dr. Jaquis. And we made it out of that OR and was able to go back to the family and say, your daughter made it. And I will never forget the euphoria that I felt as a medical student at that moment of being able to come back into the room after telling them that there was a 50% chance that you wouldn't see your child again. And that weighed heavy on all of us in the OR. And then to be able to go back out and share the news that your child did well was euphoric. I don't know how else to describe it. The problem was a few days later, I was in the clinic seeing a 4-year-old child with HLHS that had heart failure, that had high PRA levels, the antibody levels that prevent you from being a transplant candidate. And we advised the family that that 4-year-old needed to consider hospice care because there was nothing else we could do for that 4-year-old child. And that moment hit me like a ton of bricks. And I remember reflecting deeply on that for days, if not weeks. And where my head went with that was, what was I celebrating days earlier when we walked out of the OR, high-fiving each other, going to that family's room? What were we celebrating? What really was I celebrating as an individual? And it struck me that I was celebrating our skills, our talents, our luck that we made it out of that OR. I wasn't celebrating that we cured the kid. I wasn't celebrating that we provided a pathway of durability and longevity. And I'm not taking anything away from that family that had 4 years with their child. And I don't care if you have 4 minutes, 4 days, 4 years, 4 decades. Every minute's precious when you have a child. And I don't mean to discount any of that time. However, as a young medical student, I became motivated that this is barbaric. This is not what we should be celebrating as success. 50% of these kids born with HLHS today don't make it to their 5th birthday. That's a reality that we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
And so I became passionate about how do we do the research? How do we do things differently? How do we find new creative ways that the pioneers 30 years ago with Bill Norwood figured out? Where has that innovation spirit gone, and who are the teams and who are the people that can actually make someday possible? And so I was very early in my career surprised by how little research was really
Mhm.
focused on transforming the outcomes, and how much research was focused on developing new knowledge to write papers and to talk about the things that we've learned. But who's really incentivized and motivated to make the 4 days into 4 months, the 4 months into 4 years, and the 4 years into 4 decades? And that takes different products. And so I was surprised by that. And today, I'm surprised by how much technology and knowledge is out there, that the cure is in front of us. We just have to package it together and bring it together to do it. So it's not that we have to go discover something, it's that we have to go make it real and bring the community together and have the resources to execute on what is possible. So that's been a snippet of where my realizations have been and what drives me personally.
Well, Mama C, that's what you're doing here. I'm gonna call you Mama C because it says it on your your name there, and that touched my heart. That touched my heart. I did get a good, wonderful, blessed 6 months with my grandson. So, thank you for sharing your information on that. And again, thank you, Mama C, for bringing this together. I guess with that said, I think you have a video you're going to be playing, right, CJ?
Yes, I was gonna do a video real quick. Let me share this up.
Can I ask one quick question to Dr. Tim?
Absolutely.
So I found that extremely interesting when you're talking about using skin cells to formulate stem cells and recreate transplant materials. How close are you to that becoming a reality?
Well, it's a reality today. So we are recruiting patients to collect their skin samples today. We've done this on hundreds of patients, and we have a manufacturing facility that's right beside me right now that actually converts those skin biopsies into billions of cardiomyocytes. So basically, if you think of the cells we produce would fill the palm of your hand with your beating, contracting cardiac muscle, is what we manufacture in the lab. And so we've got a team of people that do this. The technology is real, and now we are building that, freezing that product to then inject back into the patients. We have not yet injected a patient with their cells yet. We're at that stage where we have permission to do it, and we're searching for the right patients. And so this year we will manufacture a product on 100 patients that are at risk, and we have approval to treat 9 of those patients by delivering those cells back into their heart muscle. So it's the research that's going on right now. It's real.
That's amazing. So you're not creating a whole new heart. You're transplanting cells that will fill in gaps in the heart. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're making the patient's own heart muscle cells, and we're now transplanting that back into their heart to rebuild it. But you can also start imagining, and we've got a whole product line that we have collaborators that we're working on literally across the globe right now, where you can use those material from the patient's own body and create patches, conduits. Even the idea of 3D printing whole ventricles and hearts is not completely far-fetched. And so once you have this starting material from the patient's own body, it's a platform to do all kinds of things. But that takes money, that takes partnerships, and it takes technology that exists in our universities and exists in our companies, and creating a platform to pull that together to incentivize to work collaboratively. That's what the HeartWorks platform does. And as I said, our biggest bottleneck is going to be having the connections with the families and educating people globally that this is possible, that this is real. This isn't for the next generation. This is for the kiddos today. And that's where these types of partnerships and these conversations are really the lifeblood to moving this forward faster.
Thank you.
Yes,
Fascinating.
may I ask you a question too, also on that? So well, we're in February now. So December, my grandson had collaterals. and he had to have some coils for that. And it amazed me. It's funny you hear these things, but then when it's really close to home, then you actually go, wait a minute. So, how the heart actually created two new vessels on its own. This is post Fontan. My understanding that's for trying to to be able to breathe a little more, to get more pressure relieved. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
Okay, so that our bodies, their bodies, are automatically trying to adjust to that new anatomy.
Correct.
They're very, it's our bodies are very intuitive. They're very intelligent. They want to fix what's wrong. So, I mean, just on a basic level, without having that scientific and medical background knowledge, it makes sense to put that back into them for it to, it's like, okay, this is your target. This is where you want to work. And that's basically
Right.
what you're doing. Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
exactly
sense to
right.
me.
We're,
In
we're
layman's
using,
terms.
we're training the body to use its own cells and its own material to repair itself. So here's a
Yeah.
statistic you'll remember. If you asked anybody born in the 70s here,
Almost
maybe not done.
60.
Almost. So the people born in the 70s are the greatest generation in humanity for regenerative sciences. And I'll tell you why. Because in the 70s, we had the highest level of carbon-14 in our atmosphere from above ground nuclear testing in the Cold War era. And so everybody knows how dinosaurs are dated with carbon dating technology. And so what we now know, because those of us born in the 70s had a high level of carbon-14 added to our cells when we were born, and every year since then, we've had lower levels of carbon-14 added to the cells that regenerate. So you can get a very precise chronological age of your body by doing a carbon-14. With those studies and with the extrapolation of that science, what we can tell you now is that your body, everybody online today, every single person, no matter what your age is, your biological clock is about 7 years old in your body. And this makes sense that your hair grows, your fingernails grow, your epithelium of your gut is realigning itself. All of our cells in our body, if you average it all together, is about 7.5 years old, is what the average is. Now, some cells are there from our birth, like our cornea in our eye. There's other cells in our body that are only 3 days old. Red blood cells are only 30 days old. So I paint this picture for you because it's important to realize that our bodies are regenerating, healing, adapting every single day of our life. And so our vision of congenital heart disease is how do we align the body's ability to regenerate and repair. And that's what moves us beyond the fixed mindset of palliative surgery and allows us to start imagining how we can actually accept the fact that a child was born with hypoplastic left heart, but not accept the fact that we can't rebuild that heart to a stronger biventricular heart if we applied the right cells at the right time at the right stage. And so our bodies can regenerate. And the collaterals that you talked about with your grandson is exactly proof that our bodies are adapting to the challenges. We just have to give it the raw materials and the building blocks to do more than what they will do on their own. And so that's the science. That's the basis of thinking about what the future can offer. It's real.
That's
Wow.
amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, Tim, how far off are you from where you want to be on data collection?
So we launched the co-op a year ago, and we've got about 150 patients in it. That's nothing. It's trivial. It's not trivial for those 150 because they've been the pioneers to launch it. But we're on a pathway that we believe we can scale this to 1,000 patients this year and hopefully 10,000 patients in the years to come. And it's groups like this, it's conversations like this that make me confident that that's possible. Because why wouldn't you want to contribute to moving the field forward? It doesn't cost you anything. You're going to have some concerns about the security of the data, which we take very serious. And we're not going to commercialize it. We are here to actually commercialize new products to be able to make available to patients. And so it's really a team of teams, donation of data that we believe can go a long ways to bring this community together. And so we're excited about making that investment and making that available to everybody. But we got a long ways to go. I don't take it for granted. It's a no-brainer in my mind, and it's frustrating that not everybody knows about it. But it just takes one person at a time, one group at a time, one email list at a time, to grow this thing. And so we have a long ways to go, but I'm also oddly confident that we can do it.
So what, do you have an ideal number? Is it 10,000, 20,000, 100,000? I mean, is there an ideal number?
Yeah, so the number is 10,000 is the tipping point, is what the data scientists tell us. If we as a community can hit the 10,000 mark for data donations in congenital heart disease, it then becomes a life of its own. It then becomes self-propagating, and it then becomes taking on a life of its own, such that it will be self-sustaining. The more the better. I mean, if you had 10,000 patients in there, we could do clinical research with that number, but we could even do it faster if we had 100,000 patients. Because now imagine this. Now imagine, rather than you trying to find the clinical studies out there that may be available for your grandson, imagine that your grandson's data is informing the clinical trial design, and we're designing as a community the clinical trials for the highest unmet need patients. And when those clinical trials are designed, we then go inform your family that that study is now available for you. And that allows us to be able to recruit patients rapidly into the study and do the cycles of learning much, much faster, right? So there isn't a number that's too big when it comes to a data platform like this. And the more patients you have, the faster and more motivated companies and hospitals are to participate in this. So we think the 10,000 is a tipping point, but we're focused right now, how do we get the first 1,000?
I get it. So I want to make sure I heard it correct. If you had 10,000, it takes a life of its own. But if you had 100,000, 200,000, larger numbers, that data then could actually drive what research or what clinical studies would be needed. Is that what I heard?
Correct. Let me give you an example to bring this home. So there are companies such as Medtronics that have technology today sitting on their shelf that would be life-saving for tens of thousands of kids with congenital heart disease. Okay? There's technology sitting on the shelf that is ready to go and be life-saving for kids. Why does Medtronics not deploy that technology? The market size is too small in congenital heart disease. Their shareholders won't allow them to do that. It's too big of a risk to go after such a small market. But let's say this, I go to the Medtronic CEO and say, I want to do a clinical trial with technology that you have. They'll look at me and say, it's too small of a market. I can't put my work on that. But now I go to the CEO of Medtronics and I say, we have 100,000 patients in a data platform. We know the 200 patients that are the ideal patients for your catheter that's available. You don't need to spend any money recruiting the patients. We will bring the 200 patients to you. You just need to let that device be used in a clinical trial in a network of hospitals that we're already funding, that we already had part of our consortium. The only thing I'm asking you at Medtronics to do is to donate 5% of the proceeds, if it wins, back to our nonprofit platform that made this possible. I can guarantee you every company in the planet feels guilty about ignoring the congenital heart community because it's too small. If we created the pathway where it didn't cost them money and it accelerated their product testing because the patients were available, they would happily participate in this ecosystem, and we would win. We would develop products that would save lives, and we also develop a financial model that makes it self-sustaining. That's what the co-op offers. That's what the co-op enables. So 100,000 congenital heart patients in a data donation platform brings every company to the market, because now it's not a small market. Now it's a fast market.
Wow.
So Tim, that's amazing.
Yeah, we need that on the news somewhere. We need that.
Well, we do. So my mind is absolutely blown and spinning in 100 different directions. Can you imagine that, Steve?
Yes, I can.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So CJ, do you want to go over the overview and the vision that you have, and then play the video after?
Well, actually, I am all about, how do I say this? I am all about allowing this is new. So I'm all about allowing things to take their own direction because my direction isn't always the right one. So based on where we are right now, I think I'm going to switch things up a little bit because it needs to. Just like Dr. Nelson explained,
Mm-hmm.
having 100,000 people together in a database
Yep.
is the thing that's going to change the research industry and the products and procedures and potentially cures. That's what's going to change that side of it.
Yep.
And the only way we can make that happen, and to me, my mind kind of went, that's the St. Jude, the cancer side, the St. Jude of the research for CHD. And I feel like the CHD Connects Hearts is the St. Jude concept for the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to kind of spin it that way a little bit because that's the key. And I'm going to
Yep.
say it again. All these groups that have developed out there and have grown and have gotten to this spot, an amazing feat that what they have done and what they've accomplished and how many lives they have helped transverse this journey of CHD for caregivers, for parents, for the Heart Warriors is amazing. What we've developed and what we've created is, when I first started, it was going to be this little thing. And then as I was more in it, more in it, more in it, I was like, it can't be this one thing because there's so many ages and stages and phases and diagnoses, and the journey, the emotional journey can be similar,
Mm-hmm.
but depending on what stage you're in, it changes things.
Mm-hmm.
So in this group that I did, I've got 6 tailored groups. I've got one for families, and inside that families group, there's so many different channels for different topics to discuss. And I wanted it that way because I'm in these groups and I'm watching people post up on a screen, and some will get an answer, some get none, some get no response, some get, bombarded. Um, but they're all in one bowl in one group. And then there's 50 other groups also. And it all depends on which one you're in and who's there for the day. This is not a social media group. It's a platform. It is outside social media. It is a mastermind community. And for those that don't know what a mastermind is, a mastermind is a collective. It is a collective of individuals. And the more people you have with knowledge
Mm-hmm.
connected together gives you the mastermind. So that, I hope that helped kind of play that out. So you've got the families group, you've got the different channels. So if you have a question about HRHS, then you can actually go into a channel, HRHS, and you
Mm-hmm.
can put a specific question and have a discussion about that topic in there. So what that does is, anybody out here in this collective community who has knowledge about HRHS, has gone through that journey or is in the middle of that journey, that is a channel they're going to come back to, right? So that's where you have that collective mastermind over that one topic. Same thing with HLHS, same thing with ventricular ASD, whatever it is, whatever that primary diagnosis is. Or if you get a new diagnosis, then you've got a spot to go into and discuss that. And that is huge. Steve, thank you very much. That is huge. And then it is a go as you grow. So
Mm-hmm.
I have it set up for birth to 5 years because Those are typically the hardest, toughest years to get through. And then I have a 6 to 12, and then a 13 to 18. So parents have a spot to go into that other parents are in that same phase. I know it
Mhm.
sounds a little complicated, but it's really not. So if you've got a 13 to 18-year-old as a parent, as a caregiver, the things you're focusing on are different. You still have that what if, what if, what if, what if, what if playing out in your mind every day. And you wonder, how do I still do this when my 13-year-old thinks there's nothing wrong with them and they've got the teenage attitude and they're like, I can do it, mom, when the doctors say you can't. All right. And then you've got, yes, you can, but it's still in the back of my head and I'm so scared it's going to happen, right? Those are two totally different stages from being in this, still having the Fontan ahead of me or having 2 more surgeries ahead of me or the feedings and the feeding tube every 2 to 3 hours still. I mean, those are two different phases. So these people can come back and help these people if and when they want. And that's the other big part of it. When it's all in social media, and I have done this, my daughter's done it. I used to enjoy getting on social media as my little break. Well, now when I get on there, because I'm in all these groups, I am bombarded with CHD. I turn my screen on and I've seen another child passed. I see a picture of a parent holding their dead baby in their arms. I wasn't prepared for that. And I had no choice. It was there. So I seriously worry about the PTSD continual trigger. I seriously worry about the continual anxiety that these young parents are having to get hit with, and they're not even thinking about that. They don't even have that light bulb hasn't clicked yet. That's continuing my anxiety. That's adding to my anxiety. That's adding to my worry. It's adding to my stress. So having this separate platform and having my social media be
Mhm.
to my friends and my family and my normal side of life allows this freedom. So I can go into my platform and deal with CHD side of my life with intention, with purpose. I can take that deep breath and I can go, whatever I see in here, now I know I'm coming into it versus it, no control.
That's pretty cool, CJ, because you have the groups. I'm on your site now, and I mean, this is amazing. You have your families group, your fathers group, your teens group, your adults group, your memorial group, and then you have your hospitals and research group. So your website is phenomenal, and
Yeah, the platform is amazing. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it is, I don't even feel like I did it. I had the visions, but I still look at it and go, I can't believe that came out of me because I wasn't planning all that. And there it is. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're in there, it just makes sense. And that teenage portion is huge because parents have a very difficult time letting go.
Mm-hmm.
And the teens they want to be let go of. And it's our jobs, again, as parents, we're raising a child for the future our job is to raise them to go out the door and fly. That's our job,
Mm-hmm.
CHD or not. So one of the things I love about it is having that teenage section is we can help parents break that a little bit for themselves, that they struggle, and we can help teach them how to be their own advocates and help that progression for them. I went to UMMC ball fundraiser event last week and was talking with the pediatric and the adult lead teams, the team leads of the congenital heart defects. And one thing they stated was that their biggest struggle is that transition away from their pediatric cardiologist into adult CHD program, because that pediatric cardiologist has been the one who has gone through all of these 18 years with them, those big heart surgeries, those moments, and that relationship and trust is it's very, very deep. Their family.
Mhm.
Right. Now they're transitioning to an adult program, and there's a real big struggle there. As it is their biggest issue is that transition. So we
Mhm.
want to help with that transition for the parents and for the individuals going into adulthood. So that's a big a big push.
Mhm.
The adults deal with different things. Their mindset's different. What they're struggling with is different. You know, they're thinking about families. They're thinking about, you know, genetics. Do I have a baby? Do I not have a baby?
Mhm.
What's the risk of passing this on? How do I manage my heart health? When do I tell someone about it? How do I tell someone about it? There's so many different aspects.
Mhm.
Again, we want this to be a holistic, comprehensive place that they can come. Um, the other part of that is just like with the research. If we want, I hear complaints about it all the time. There's not enough research, there's not enough funding, there's not enough research, there's not enough funding. What are we as a community doing about it?
Well,
We're not.
we're
So
not.
now we are.
So now we
Now
have
we are.
some memberships
So
that you can discuss, right?
yes, we're going to pull everybody together, and in the memberships, there is a fee for this, and it's a couple of reasons. Number one, this isn't inexpensive to build. This is expensive to build. It takes money. I thought about doing it as donation, but the truth is, we need to invest in ourselves. And I feel like if you invest something in yourself, you are more apt to follow through with it.
Mhm.
So if you give, we will give back. And that's the way we want to work this. We have to be working together. So you have to give, and then we're going to give. So it's expensive, and it's going to cost money to have employees and overhead for a location. It's going to cost money. I'm also going to be traveling to locations. So the membership fees, we went through all these different options.
Which is not expensive.
It is not.
No.
It's not. We went through all different options, and we decided to make this simple and affordable. So it's $15 a month. That's it. And if you pay annual, you get a month free. So $15 a month. If you pay an annual upfront, then you get 1 month free. So it's even less than that. It's less than 50 cents a day.
Mhm.
I mean, that's nothing. And then a portion of it is going to go directly to research. And I want to add something else that I decided over the last 24 hours. We have a lot of individuals that get into financial issues. And so we're also going to do a portion into a fund that people can apply for grants.
That's nice.
So a portion of memberships will go directly to research, and a portion of the memberships will go directly to a fund, and you can apply for a grant if you need it.
Wow.
And that's come into my head because I'm running into a lot of adults. Once they break out of that 26-year-old point of insurance and
Mhm.
marketplace insurance, there are people who are hitting roadblocks to being able to have the care they need.
Mhm.
And that's unacceptable to me.
Yeah.
That needs to stop.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of like our own co-op in a different manner. So I hope everybody will join. I really do. I'm looking forward to making true impact and change in this industry. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to email it straight out. We'll email it straight out to everybody. Okay. So for the memberships, but it is on the website. There's a membership page, and you can join right there as well. So,
CJ
so read it.
Run, he says, thank you. It was an honor to be here. He says, thank you so much to you for allowing him to be here, and it was an honor, but he did have to go and start another meeting.
Yes, I understand. Very good. Serena, will
Yes.
you please give out 1 year free membership to one of our online guests today?
Absolutely. You know, I wish I known more about this earlier this last year. My grandson was born in December 27th. And just listening to you and Steve and Dr. Nelson has been so enlightening and helpful. And I'm just like, I'm honored as well to be here, and I'm learning so much. And I want to help share this with everyone that I know and people who I don't know. So thank you so much, CJ, for hosting this and allowing this platform for families to go to and talk to and get things off their chest, especially, I mean, everyone, but fathers. Fathers take things different, and teens, you know, the whole categories that's available is just amazing. And yes, I will donate a 1-year membership. So are you going to do a drawing or?
No.
I don't know.
Who is the Zoom user? There's someone on here that's a Zoom user with no name. I want to know who this person is right here.
I see you in the blue shirt with your bangs like mine.
That's
Hi
me.
there.
Me?
How are you? Oh, hi.
We're matching, you and me.
I love your shirt. I have one just like that.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work. I'm interested in learning more.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I have a son transitioning into adult care. He's a success story and a miracle. So he's hypoplastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What?
That's amazing. Good.
Oh yeah, we're sort of at the other end of the a lot of perspective and insight, and we've been doing this for 21 years now. So I hope, I don't know how, but I'm going to contact you and however else that I can be a assistance, because I feel that you have hit on something that has been I've never understood it, how this hasn't been widely understood or known, or why is this such a mystery? Why is congenital heart defects, why doesn't it have the recognition as it should?
Yeah.
And I really believe it's just because we're scattered.
Yeah, there has to be a key that hasn't been unlocked to the mystery, because like I said, 21 years of doing this, and there has been no progress as far as awareness as much as it should have been and could have been. And I certainly was consumed with keeping my child alive. That's what I was consumed with. So any kind of extra efforts that I could do was probably minimal. So I can't put the blame on anybody else. I feel guilty for that, but it's not too late for me to help kids like my son, families. I don't know what I can do, but I would like to be a part of it.
Well, you will be.
My son is stable now. He's great. He's a college freshman and basketball coach. He just astounds us. He astounds us, and hopefully that I can play a part with inspiring the people that are coming up now. My son was a very critical and day-to-day situation when he was born. So he did not have a prenatal diagnosis. So he came
Surprise diagnosis. Oh,
he came out and survived 2 months with no diagnosis, which we couldn't so he's single ventricle. He's got about 4 other defects: coarctation of the aorta, transposition of the great vessels. He's hypoplastic right. So he defies the odds on what should be.
he's absolutely defying the odds.
Yeah. From the minute from not having a prenatal diagnosis, that's unbelievable that he survived to be able to live the 72 hours that they're supposed to be in surgery. And then to go on 2 months without any intervention. He doesn't make sense. He doesn't make sense scientifically. But when the medical team says that your son's a miracle and that, God has purpose for him, and that there's no logical explanation for him to be
Right.
alive. That we'll take that.
I would
So-
take that.
Yeah.
We're just so grateful to live in the time that we do. He was
Yes.
born in 2004, and we've seen such progress, and we have hope with our team. My son gets his care at Penn State Children's Hospital. Now he's transitioned to adult care, but Penn State Hershey is our hospital. So we're pleased with our care. We just want to go forward as long, as far, as hard as we can.
I love it. Will you do me a favor? Will
Yeah.
you send, in the chat, can you send Serena your email? Just send her
I
your
will.
name and email for me. And we're going to give you a year's free membership so you can get in there and play with it and give us some feedback as well. We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. Where are you in, like, you, as in this process? Like, are you looking for, like, input? Are you looking for people like me to help give input, or are you, like, past that point?
Well, so we are very open to people. When you're in that community, if you see something that you think should change or we need something different, we want the feedback.
Mhm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Feedback is welcome. And how do we do that? So once I'm on the platform, then I can interact with you, or are you, is it a team of people?
I'll make sure you have my email as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's info@chdconnects.com.
Mhm.
Yep. So
Well,
yes,
exciting.
it is exciting.
Yeah.
As soon as I came across your info, I said, this is going to be, I don't know, life changing. Oh, my son, he's calling me on the phone right this very second. I'm not sure what he's saying.
Well, I need to end this. We've definitely gone over, but I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
for
Thanks
everybody.
so much,
being here.
everybody.
Make sure you send that to Serena real quick. Oh, you
I
got it
will.
already.
Thank
I have-
you.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you guys so much.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next live. And thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.